haven't posted the reviews for like a week because I keep not figuring out when I should say. And I don't know if anybody looks at it. I'm going to bomb the chat just to keep them on there because that's what I do. So after we're done, you're going to be bombed with we're going to be bombed with the chats with this stuff. So okay. And Parrots wants it to be done each daf by itself. That's why. Otherwise, I would send it all at the same time. But because like this, he posts it.
Post about a YouTube.
What?
Yaakov, I could separate it if you want.
I don't care. Whatever you tell me. It's whatever.
Doesn't matter to me. I could separate it.
Yaakov,
Okay, so I'll just post it.
Guys, you got disco lighting going on over there in the Shiva? Gee,
Matches my hair.
look at you. Oh, matches your hair.
Oh, okay. Are we ready? So anyway, so today's daf is all about the tenufa, and what are you going to do about a Nazir who doesn't have hands? That's the first part of the daf, and then the second part of the daf is about all if the karbanos become puzzle, and then we start the next parak. Everybody get the lechayim's ready, and then we start the next parak, which is all about continuing the kohen gadol and Nazir, who they can become tummy to, who they can't become tummy to. So it's relatively easy, but we got to do a blot and a half. So, okay, it shouldn't be too difficult. So, Omar Rab, yeah, 2 dots, 4 lines up.
What daf? I'm sorry, what daf are you on?
We're on Mem Vav Amud Aleph.
All right, bye. Thanks. We weren't recording. I would tell you this Shiloh that's coming through now, but maybe after for those that are interested. Okay. Okay, so Omar Rav, Tenufa ben Nazir ma'akeves. Right, so Tenufa by a Nazir is ma'akev. Now again, remember we said that there's a whole bunch of things that have to go on at the end of the Naziris. There's the haircuts, there's the 3 korbanos. They got, depending on where they're doing the haircuts, whether that's a machlokes, whether it goes under the pot that they're cooking the shlomim. Then he's got to take he's got to shave, and then he shaves the head, and then he's mutter. You know, the various different various different things like that. So but now Rav says Tenufa ben Nazir is ma'akeves. Tenufa by a Nazir is ma'akev, meaning if they don't do the waving, which we said is they take the carbon together with the matzah and the challah and put it on the Nazir's hands and they wave it. So if they didn't do it, it's ma'akev. So Mara asks, I'll leave it the man. Who are we going according to Elim? I'll leave it the Rabbanon. If you say it's going according to Rabbanon, that can't be because right? The Rabbanon held that even if the guy doesn't take a haircut, it's not ma'akev, and he could already become tummy and drink wine. Meaning even without the haircut. Tenufa mibai. So tenufa, you're saying is going to be more important than shaving the head? That can't be. So this can't be going according to that. Well, it's be going according to Rabbi Eliezer. So meaning Rabbi Eliezer who said, Achar Maisim Kulam. Rabbi Eliezer says you need everything, right? Rabbi Eliezer shita was that you need the karbanas and the shaving of the head and now we're saying the tenufa and the burning of the hair and all that. And if without that, the Naziris is not over. So who is this going according to that the Nazir is ma'akev? So when it answers Ma'od, the same Akim in kapara. Sheyare mitzvah, he sits for kapara. Then it's sheyare mitzvah, meaning by whenever you have times like for the Matzorah, not all karbanos need tenufa, what we call tenufa. Not all karbanos need to be waved, but even the karbanos that do need to be waved, right? It's never ma'akev, right? If somebody has a Matzorah, or let's go with Matzorah, and he has to bring a carbon after the tzaras. Fine, okay, so you have to wave, but if you didn't do the waving, the carbon is perfectly fine. So you would think, so maybe since the waving is not a problem. So hachanami, meaning it's never an issue. So hachanami loy ta'akav. So too it shouldn't be ma'akiv. Kamash malan that it is ma'akiv, right? So right. So we're saying again the teretz is that it's going according to Rebbe Eliezer, which shouldn't be a chiddush because he holds you need everything. But here the chiddush is that you may think that since by other korbanos it's not ma'akiv to do the tnufa, you're supposed to do. You don't do it, the korban is fine. So you maybe to say the same thing. So on our base now, so Gemara says umi ma'akva, and does he really hold? Does Rabbi Eliezer hold that's the Nazir is ma'akiv? But Tanya zois taras han-Nazir bein sheyesh lo kapayim bein she'ein lo kapayim. Right, meaning it says that there's a Nazir. It says that this is the Torah of the Nazir, and it's whether he has hands or whether he doesn't have hands. Kapayim is really palms. Kapayim was in today's parsha, right? Kapayim is right. There was, I think, it was in Kapayim. No, I thought. I don't know. So, anyways, so anyway, we're learning that what happens if the Nazir, right? So again, the tanuf is you take the carbon with the challah and the matzah and you put it on his hands and wave. What happens if he doesn't have hands? Right. So what do you do then? So we're saying that it doesn't make a difference. It's fine. Meaning even if he doesn't have hands, so you see that it's not ma'akiv, it would be ma'akiv. Then a Nazir who doesn't have hands would never be able to get out of his nazirus. So when it answers back, meaning again, so we see that it's not ma'akiv. But we learn in the Brayso, Zois Taras Han-Nazir. It says also this is the Taras Han-Nazir. Bein sheyesh lo seir, bein she'ein lo seir. Whether the Nazir has here, whether he doesn't have here. Hachanami deloy ma'akva. Are we going to say that it's not ma'akiv? Meaning, if you're going to say that kasha, that Zois Taras means that if a Nazir doesn't have hands, then he's still going to be okay, right? So then we're going to say, maybe we're going to say that, well, the same way somebody who doesn't have hair, his nazirus is over. Let's say Nazir has whatever that problem is that he doesn't have hair. I forgot the name of it. But okay, but let's say he doesn't.
Alopecia?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So let's say Nazir has that. So can he become, and he becomes a Nazir. So can he get out of being a Nazir? So yes, so we're going to say, okay, so the same way a guy that doesn't have hair gets out of Nazir, maybe even a guy with hair but gets out of Nazir. Does that make sense? Right? It doesn't. That doesn't make sense. But Tanya, and what it says, we learned that right, a Nazir memurit, a Nazir that's bald, the Shami Yomi ain't it tzarach lahaber tara Russia. He doesn't have to shave his head because he doesn't have hair. He still has to put the razor over his head. Now, what does this mean? So, so it sounds like according to Beishamai from the basic reading of the Brayso, right? He says that he does not need to put the razor over his head, right? Which sounds like he's fine. But Ravina has a different way of learning it. He has no takana, not pshat that he doesn't have to. He can't. Even if he does it, it's nothing. Meaning his nazirus will be forever. If he has this disease and he becomes a nazir, according to Beishamai, even though the pasha the reading of Beishamai would say that he doesn't need to put the razor over his head, Ravina says no. It means he doesn't. What it means by he doesn't need, he has no takana. But Beis Hillel, he has a takana. He's gonna, even though he has got no hair, he's got to put the razor over his head, and he's fine. Right?
So if he has this condition beforehand, it can't be that it's ma'akiv even him starting his nazirus?
What do you mean?
Meaning a nazir that doesn't have hands. So he becomes a nazir and then he gets his hands cut off in the middle. So he changed his status all there. But this guy didn't have hair even beforehand. He didn't have the ability to grow hair beforehand. But it's ma'akiv him. It stops him from ending his nazirus. Maybe it should stop him from even starting his nazirus.
Maybe because he doesn't have hair
in the middle.
Right. No,
Could have lost the hair in the middle.
You don't lose your hair in the middle. If he's got a matziv, you don't lose all your hair in the middle. If he has a disease, then he lost it. That he didn't have it before he started.
So I don't know. It sounds like why can't he be a nazir if he doesn't have hair? I mean, because he
can't
doesn't
pass the
qualify.
razor, because he can't pass the razor over his head.
Right.
I don't know. It does. It
But
does.
maybe
not
someone who
mashma
has
like that.
alopecia and has no hair is not allowed to become a Nazir. His Nazirus wouldn't be valid. Because we know going forward, we know starting out that he's not going to be able to shave his head.
If
He
a
has no
guy's
hair.
only has no money and he can't afford the cabanas, he also can't become a Nazir.
Maybe, but he might get money. He might borrow money. This guy.
Well, maybe
can't
he'll
have-
get hair. Maybe
Well,
he'll
not
get
if he has
hair.
a condition that we know he's not.
I have a nephew that had it, and then he
Yeah.
had chemo, and then he was allowed. Then he got it. He got hair.
He had the issue, then he had chemo for this or for something else.
Something else.
I'm saying,
And
but
then his
within
hair grew
30, this
back.
guy has to have his hair within 30 days.
That's an interesting thing that you're saying. Maybe why don't we hush it that Raham's saying maybe his hair will grow.
I don't know.
I don't know.
They got all these super schmears that they say, you know, you bring your hair back and hair implant and all these things that they. I
Right.
get all this fake mail. This is spam mail. You know,
You go to Turkey.
your
You go
hair,
to Turkey
your
and
hair
get
in
hair
your nose will
implants.
grow back, whatever. You know, why can't it be? You know?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I it's from here. It's mashra. He could become a nazir, but he's never going to get out of being a nazir. At least according to Bishama. Right. I hear. Either way, I hear. No pun intended. But okay. So. Bottom line is, what's the Gemara saying? So you see that one is not going to be ma'akiv the other. So meaning, just obviously having hair and not having hair is not going to be ma'akiv whether the guy gets out of the nazirus, at least according to this hillel. Right. So too, it's not gonna. It doesn't make a difference with hands, without hands. Right. Meaning, it's not necessarily going to tell you that because we say that a nazir without hands doesn't need to do the tenufa, that doesn't mean that a nazir with hands, it's not ma'akiv. Meaning we wanted to say, well, you see in the brisa that if a nazir without hands, you can still do the tenufa. That's what we want to say also. It must be that a nazir with hands who didn't do the tenufa is also okay, right? A nazir with hands who didn't do tenufa can't be any worse than a nazir without hands, right? So you want to say no, because you see that we can't compare necessarily somebody with hair without hair. So we're not going to compare a nazir with hands to without hands, right? But I know the Rebbe Pedas. And this is what Rebbe Pedas says. Damar Pedas. Beishami Rebbe Eliezer, Amar Davar Acher. Beishami Rebbe Eliezer is saying the same thing, right? My Rebbe Eliezer, meaning Beishami who said that that you can't, if the guy doesn't have hair, he can't get out of his nazirus. They're saying the same thing according to Rebbe Das as Rebbe Eliezer. My Rebbe Eliezer, Tanya ein loy bayim yad v'regel. So another thing that happens by a mitzayra is that they take the blood and they put it onto his thumb and his big toe, the right thumb and the right big toe. So let's say he doesn't have a right thumb and a big toe. So then what? Ein loy tahira lamis. Then he's never going to become tar according to Rebbe Eliezer. Devrei Rebbe Eliezer. No, they put it on the place where the thumb should be. Right? You don't have to actually have the thumb there. So if there's no thumb, you put it in the place where it should be. If
you didn't have an arm, what do they do? Put it in the air? He didn't have an
I
arm.
don't know. I guess you put it on the last spot, like the last
The other side.
spot.
The left side.
Well, no, that's the next sheet. This sheet is you got to put it on the right side. So I guess if he's missing it till the elbow, so put it by the elbow, by the shoulder, I guess. I don't know.
Is it oinus?
What?
Is it oinus?
Yeah, no, but you're doing something. It's just not by the actual thumb. So it means at the end of I guess the way you learn it is the end of the arm, wherever that arm ends for this fellow, then that's what it is. Right? I'll small the yotze. So Chachamim say, interesting. You use the left hand, and then you yotze. Right? Which is interesting because that's not the what do you call it? That's not the mitzvah. The mitzvah is on the right side. So Chachamim is saying doing on the left side. Let's say a guy breaks his arm all the way, from the shoulder all the way down to the hands. He can't put the tefillin on there.
Does he put the tefillin on the other arm? He does not put the tefillin on the other arm.
No, he puts it on top of the cast.
Well, you put on top of the cast, it
That's
doesn't
it.
hurt without a bracha. Without a bracha, you put on top of the cast.
A guy's missing his right arm. So he does put on tefillin the rest of his life? Left
He
arm?
puts that I don't think it's not. I meant to look it up. Of course, I forgot.
Maybe he'll find his right arm.
Yeah,
He lost his arm.
Okay, Rachel. Yeah.
Rachman, get it, take a nap.
I don't remember. If he loses his arm, he puts it on the other arm. If he doesn't have an arm,
Yeah.
I don't. There it might be different because it's both his weak arm and his strong arm. Meaning the reason if a guy has a cast on his whole arm, the reason why he doesn't put it on the other arm is because it's not the right arm. He's supposed to put it on the weaker arm. That's what the pasuk we learned from the word yad, right? That you put on the weaker hand. So you can't go put it on the stronger hand. It's not the mitzvah.
A guy came out of the army never, and he didn't have an arm. So
Yeah.
So I saw that a guy put on the other arm, the only arm he had.
I don't remember, but I think that's what we do, but I don't remember for sure. But definitely a guy with the broken arm does not put on the other arm. That's for sure. Doesn't go. Right? I mean, it goes, but it's the wrong arm. The Torah says put on your weaker arm, not on your stronger arm. So here, it's interesting. I wonder if that machlokes is totally in this. I meant to look it up. I'm sorry, I forgot. But I'll try and look it up today. But yeah, but either way. So the bottom line is the Gemara is coming out from here that there's no kasha. There's no kasha on Rebbe Eliezer, and it could be that the tenufa can be ma'akev, right? Now again, the lumdus behind the difference between, because the lemaisa, it seems to be a good comparison. If you're saying that a Nazir who has no hand, his tenufa, he can't do tenufa, but it works. So why should a Nazir who has a hand, who they forgot to do the tenufa, why shouldn't that work? He's not any worse than a guy without a hand. Right? So then that gets into that rule that we have many times. Meaning you have to be in the game. Once you're in the, meaning if you're out of the game, so you're out of the game. But if you're in the game, then it needs to be done properly. Right?
So according to that, the fellows here who said that he can't become a Nazir, that would mean like he can't become a Nazir.
Why? Because he doesn't have the hands.
Using the time of Kloshkaroi Levi, so this would be Miyakev, and that's it. So he's out of the parsha of Naziris.
Well, I'm saying he may. Okay, you're saying the same thing as them. Then maybe if you can't, if you're not, you don't have the ability to do the whole. Yeah, the whole zah. I'm saying the whole procedure. Then you're out, right? Okay, but that's what the lumdus it entails. Is meaning if you're doing it, you have to do it right. If you're not doing it, so then you're out, right? Fine. Okay. Lishna achrina. The Lashon Achrina says the opposite. Amri la amarav tenufa ben nazir me'akeves. Right. The first girsa was is that, no, 1 second. The first girsa is Amarav tenufa nazir me'akeves. Right. That the first girsa was that. Hold on, I'm getting a little mixed up here. The first one was right. So the first one was also tenufa ma'akeves, and the second one is tenufa ben nazir ma'akeves. The tenufa is ma'akev. Aliba demand. So then I want to ask, who's this going according to? Ilam aliba de Rebbe Eliezer pshita. It's pashut. Ha'amar Rebbe Eliezer echad achar ma'asim kulam. We do after everything. Aliba de Rabbanon, but according to Rabbanon, hashta yesh lem tiglachas amri Rabbanon loy ma'akva. Right, that the Rabbanon say that tiglachas is not ma'akev, tenufa mibai. Do you need tenufa to tell you anything like that? Right? So again, it's the same. It's just a different version of the same Gemara. Right? So the Gemara says, "Amilay ma'akva." Is it not ma'akev? Atanya zois taras hanazir. This is the Torah of the Nazir. Bein sheyesh lekapayim, bein she'ein lekapayim. Whether he has hands, whether he doesn't have hands. Right? But this time we learned that zois taras hanazir bein sheyesh leseir, bein she'ein leseir. Whether he has here, whether he doesn't have here. Hachanami the ma'akva. That here too it should be ma'akev. But Tanya Nazir Mamurat, the Nazir who's bald, Bishami Aram ain't it tzarech lahaver tara roisha. He doesn't have to put a razor on his head. V'zil Aram tzarech, and V'zil says he needs. Right? So again, the same as we said before. You can't compare a Nazir without hands to a Nazir with hands, and just like you can't compare a Nazir with hair to a Nazir without it. So Maravina my tzarech lebeis hillel tzarech ve'ein loy takana. When it means tzarech, it means it's going according to Beis Hillel, right? That needs tzarech ve'ein loy takana means he needs it, and he has no takana, right? Which means this is where it really is different than the previous lashon, because according to this lashon, Beis Hillel is the one who says that if a guy is bald, he needs to have the hair. He needs to be able to cut his hair, and since he can't, it doesn't work. But the Beis Shammai, yesh la takana, and according to Beis Shammai, there is a takana pliga de Rav Pedas, and this disagrees with Rav Pedas, who said that Rav Eliezer and Beis Shammai are saying the same thing. Meaning, according to this girsa, Beis Hillel is the one. This seems to be the more simple reading, right? Because when it said before in the Brisa, see this in the Lishna Achrin, the Gemara doesn't quote the Brisa fully, but before we said that Beis Shammai ain't it tzarech lahaver tara roisha. He doesn't have to. It's mashma according to Beis Shammai, it's okay. Beis Hillel, tzarech lahaver tara roisha. He needs to, and since he can't, he's not yotzer. That's what comes out according to these two girsais. There's a big nafkamina in what would be. Right? According to the first girsa, Beis Shammai is the machmer, which is the norm, and Beis Hillel is the makel. Right? Beis Shammai says he doesn't need to do the razor because he doesn't have hair, but it means that he doesn't need to do it, meaning it's no good, and he can never get out of Nazirus. And Beis Hillel says he does need to do it, and he just puts the razor over his head. That's according to Rav Pedas. According to this girsa, it's the opposite. Beis Shammai says he doesn't need to do it. Okay, he doesn't need to do it. And Beis Hillel says he does need to do it. Right, and according to Beis Hillel, it's ma'akev. Right. Fine. Okay, so that's that.
According to this girsa, is this another one of the Chumrei Beis Shammai included? Chumrei Beis Hillel, Chumrei Beis Shammai.
L'chayra, according to this girsa, it is. But we had another one or two here that weren't listed. Right, Rachman asked.
Yeah, seems to be Nadarim and Nazir are full of them.
Is that a raya that they weren't supposed to be included in Shas?
I would imagine so. Although they're not quoted anywhere as kashas.
Right, that's true. I mean, I don't know anywhere. You could say that, Gershon. I'm going to say I don't know.
No, I haven't learned it, but we've learned enough Gemaras that have kashas on that Mishnah, and these are not quoted.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. But I'm saying this one, the Chiddush is, I mean, Rav Pedas is the more Chiddush-like reading of Beis Shammai. Right? I think.
Well, the problem is the first Mishnah holds that the Rabbanon says that Tanuf is not Ma'akiv, and the second Mishnah says, according to the Rabbanon, Tanuf is Ma'akiv.
Right.
So that would be the bigger Chiddush. Tiglachas is not Ma'akiv, but Tanufa is Ma'akiv.
Right. I hear. Well, it's gonna be all totally in the same din of if you don't have what you're supposed to do, so then are you out?
No, but it's not apparently because Tanufa they're saying that even if you don't have, it's still Ma'akiv. The Tiglachas is never Ma'akiv.
What?
Tiglachas, according to the Rabbanan, is never Ma'akiv. Tanufa, we just said, according to this Lishna, it was Pshita according to Rabbi Eliezer, and the Chiddush is according to the Rabbanan. Then the Gemara asked, how could Tiglachas work and Tanufa not? And it answered. But that's the Chiddush. The big Chiddush is according to the Rabbanan, Tanufa is Ma'akiv.
Well, According to this girsa, you're saying that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm mixing it up with the first. I keep mixing up back and forth. Right, because according to the second one, kol she'ein roy lebila bila mea keves. According to the second girsa. Right. Anything it's not roy. Okay. Anyways, all right. So that's
except by tiglachas.
What?
Only by tnufa though.
By tenufa, right? But tiglach is different. Yeah. Okay. So the Mishnah Vayt. Gilach al zevach. Let's say he took a haircut based on his carbon, right? He brings 3 carbonos. So he already had a machlokes which carbon comes first, but whichever one he brought a carbon, then he took the haircut, then he took the shave. Then v'nimtza puzzle. Then they found out that his carbon was puzzle. So now what happens here? Took me a while to chop this, which is not a raya to anything, but I'm saying what's wrong, right? The guy can't. You're not supposed to take the haircut. Then you're not supposed to shave until you bring 1 carbon, right? He brings the carbon, then he shaves. Then they find out the carbon was puzzle. So what ended up being? He ended up shaving before he brought a carbon. That's essentially what happened there. So therefore, he's got to wait another month, right? Because it's as if he shaved without bringing a carbon, right? Even though he brought a carbon, but the carbon was puzzle. So since the carbon was puzzle, as if he shaved without a carbon. So therefore, he's got to go another month now.
Wasn't that the Mishnah before where it depends where we're holding when you can start drinking?
Correct. But here, the carbon became puzzle. So according to everybody, you got to bring the carbon first, right? And since his carbon was puzzles, if it wasn't brought, right? So again, then his haircut, his shaving is no good. And obviously his carbon doesn't count for him. Right? Now, meaning okay, we're going to see later exactly what the Gemara means, what the Mishnah means with that. And obviously his carbonas don't work for him because they were puzzled. Right? Fine. Now the Mishnah just explains itself. These next cases is just explanation of this. If he shefted, if he took a haircut based on the carbon chatas, but was brought shaloi lishma, right? Meaning instead of bringing it as the kohen says, he's got a lot one, so the kohen thinks that this is a carbon chatas for a guy who did an avera or whatever, Machal Shabbos. Right? And then they tell him, oh no, you mixed it up with the Nazir. So now he had the wrong kavanah. So it's possible. So gilach al chatas shaloi lishma, b'achak achevi carbon noisel lishman, and then he brought the other 2, the shlomim and the oila, the shman, tiglachta psula, v'zvachav loy alalai, and his karbanos don't count for him either, right? Because once he shaved, again, the way it works is he's supposed to bring 1 carbon and then shave. Since that first carbon was puzzle, then he shaved. Now his 2 other karbanos are no good because he's not even in the parsha of bringing karbanos because he needs a month of hair before he can even get back to it.
So what's the status of those 2 carbonos? They were certainly
Kosher karbanos.
They were makru mitzvah, but
Right.
I understand the chatas had a problem, but only
I think they're kosher karbanos. I think they're kosher to be eaten. I think. But it doesn't work.
In the 5th paragraph as well. It says Shalom al L'Shem Chayva. So fine, he doesn't get it, but at least we can eat the rest of it.
I think you can.
He doesn't get a chaylik in him. Tough luck on him, but it seems it was done l'shma though. It was done l'shma. Maybe it doesn't go for his chiyuv for Naziris, and he gets
Correct.
He's able to eat from it, and the kind able to eat from the other, and the chatas is tough luck on it. That's possible, but he still has to bring it again. That's all.
Yes.
Just didn't go. L'shem chayva. So thanks a lot.
Correct. Yes, I think that's what it is. The karbanos are not puzzle. He just has to bring 3 new ones. Right? Yeah. Fine. Weiter. Next case is same. It's just the Gemara. I don't know why the Mishnah is being marked. I'm not going to complain. So gilach al oil shlamim shaloi lishman. Let's say he took a haircut based on the carbon oil or the shlamim shaloi lishman. And then he brought the other karbanos lishman tiglachta psula uzvachav loy aluloi, and his vachim don't count either. Right? But even though meaning the chiddush here is that a oila and a shlamim are kosher karbanos, like Rahman was just saying, but still it doesn't count. Right? Meaning chata shaloi lishma is pasul. Oil and shlamim shaloi lishma is kosher. Right? But it doesn't work. He has to still bring an oil and a shlamim because it has to be lishman out the nazir, but it's not going to pass the carbon. It's just going to be like a carbon nedava, which is fine, but it's not going to work for his nazir problem. Shimon Aimer, I say azavach loy alaloi. That carbon doesn't work for him. But the other ones do work for him. Right? That carbon doesn't work for him, but the other carbonas do. The Gemara is going to say what he means. But let's say now this next case changes. Let's say he brought all three carbonas, the oila, the shlamim, and the chatos, and then he took a haircut, and then nimtza echad me'am kosher. One out of the three was kosher. They were having a rough day in the Beis Hamikdash that day, so he brought three carbonas. Ended up being one was kosher, but he didn't take his haircut till after all three were brought. So then he's okay. Tiglachta kshera, his haircut is kosher. V'yavi shar zvachim, and whichever ones were puzzle, he brings them. Right, meaning the kosher one he doesn't have to bring, and then he brings one the other two. Right. So, anyways, so again, this is the last case. He brought all three karbanos. Then he took a haircut, and then one of the karbanos was kosher. So then he's fine. Right. Then he's fine because his haircut was after a kosher carbon, and the other two puzzle karbanos he brings when he gets a chance. Fine.
According to the Tanna Kama, he needs another 30 days of Nazirs.
According, I would think so. No, or just according to Rabbi Lezer, we need 7. Yeah. I think according to Rabbi Lezer, well,
no, he needs a kosher to
everybody. Right, according to everybody, he needs another 30. Not of Nazirus, just of hair. No.
It sounded like Nazirus before the last Mishnah.
Yeah, I'm not sure now. Yeah. Okay, so what did Rav Shimon mean when Rav Shimon says that carbon didn't work for him, but the other carbon does work? So Rav Shimon Rav Shimon has a chiddush, right? We said in our Mishnah that if the Nazir brings karbanos just as a present, not for his requirement, right? So then he doesn't. It doesn't work. We're saying Rav Shimon holds that it does work. Nazir gil hasham in the yatsa. My time, why? It says, and he puts it on the fire, right? He puts the hair on the fire that's under the carbon shlamim. The loikos of al shlamav. It doesn't say on his shlamim. It says on a shlamim. Right? So according to Rav Shimon, when a Nazir brings a carbon shlamim, even if he doesn't bring it specifically for his Nazirus, it's still kosher. Right? That's what comes out the nafkamina between the two. Right? But according to the
someone else's shlamim,
sounds well. I mean, somebody else's. He has to bring it. He can't use somebody else's. I don't think.
Just for the hair. Why can't he burn? If the whole thing is zevach hashlamim, as long as it goes under a shlamim, it should work. No.
Right. So, but he's not bring. What is he doing? How's he bringing it?
Yeah, there's another Nazir in the same room bringing a shlamim. He puts his hair under the same pot.
If he puts it under the pot, but I would think that he has to have some involvement in the bringing of the shlamim. That's what I would think. I don't know. Okay, but anyways, like machlokes is whether a Nazir has to bring a specific shlamim for his Nazirus, or he could even get away from a nadav. Right? Meaning, let's say this Nazir, before he became a Nazir, said, I'm donating a carbon shlamim to the Beis Hamikdash. Then after his Nazir says, hey, I'll get a 2-for-1 deal. Right? I'll bring my shlamim that I had promised before, and that will be as a shlamim for my Nazirus. According to Rav Shimon, that works. According to Nakama, it doesn't work. The carbon shlamim has to be specifically for his Nazirus. Okay. Today's daf. Zok the Mishnah, now we're on the top of Daf Mem Zayin. Misha Nizar Kalav Echad Min Adamim Benitma, right? So a Nazir, so again, he brings 3 korbanos, so Oila, Chatos, Shlomim. And then they take and they sprinkle it on the Mizbeach. Right? So then they put the blood on the Mizbeach, and then he became tummy. So now what? Normally, when once you sprinkle the blood on the Mizbeach, then that's considered a properly effective carbon. Right? But then he became tummy. So Rabbi Eliezer, I'm a Saiser as Hakol. That's it. He's out. He's Saiser everything. Meaning he has to start everything again. Right? And therefore, it's as if he didn't bring the karbanos. So he's got to start again with the haircuts. And well, here he didn't cut his hair, but he's still gonna have to wait 30 days. At least that's what the Gemara sounds like. And the Chachamim say no. He brings the other karbanos, and then he becomes tar. Right? Meaning he has to obviously wait. He became tummy. So again, he brought 1 carbon, sprinkled the blood, he became tummy. Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, he's out. You got to start everything over again. Chachamim say, no, he's not out.
Start what over again? The Naziris?
Well, yeah, he became
Or the
tummy.
Karbanas, bring in all the Karbanas.
No, the Naziris too. The Naziris too. At least what the Gemara is thinking now, according to Rabbi Eliezer, the Gemara is going to change it. But the Mishnah is thinking right now that according to Rabbi Eliezer, you got to start the whole game again. Right? Saiser Asakol. Now, Chachamim say, no, Yavi Shar Karbanas. He says you obviously has to wait 7 days till it becomes tar. And the sprinkling on the 3rd and the 7th and mikvah, and then he becomes then he's fine, and he only has to bring the other karbanos, the carbon that the blood was sprinkled, because normally when blood is sprinkled, that's a valid carbon, so that's okay, right? Amrulai, and they said to him, right? They said to Rabbi Eliezer, Maisa, the Miriam Hatarmudis, Miriam Hatarmudis, Shenizur Kala Echad Min Adamim, that they sprinkled on her. That's what it literally means. Meaning it doesn't mean on her, it means for her. They took her carbon and they put on the Mizbeach. Then they came and told her that her daughter is in a sakana. And she went. And when she got to her daughter already died, and which she then became Tameh. So now this is exactly the case of our Mishnah. The blood was sprinkled on for 1 Mizbeach, then she went and became Tameh. And let her bring the other karbanos, and then she's going to become tar, and that's it. Fine. So again, it's a machlekes in the Mishnah. If toma happens after the first carbon's blood was sprinkled on the mizbeach, if that's a problem, right? So Rabbi Eliezer holds you got to start everything again. Chachamim hold not. So Gemara says, Katani Rabbi Eliezer. Gemara asks, Katani Rabbi Eliezer, I'm a saiser as hakol. Right? He's saiser everything. He knocks off everything. It means he has to start everything again. So Gemara says, "V'amar Rabbi Eliezer, kol achar melois shiva, kol achar melois shiva saiser." Right? It's only meaning after the melois. Melois means once the Nazir time is up. We had this way back. Rabbi Eliezer says once the Nazir time is up, and then he becomes tummy before he brings the karbanos, he just has to wait 7 days. Right? And then bring the karbanos. From here it's mashma. Right? As the parents are saying. From the Mishnah, mashma, he's got to start the whole thing again. But we know Rabbi Eliezer's shita is that once you finish the 30 days of Nazirus, if they become tamei, then he's still not a problem. I mean, it's a problem, but not a problem for 30 days. It's only a problem for 7 days, like the regular tahara process, and then he's fine. My Saiser Nami, the Gomer Rebbe Eliezer, Saiser Karban Haisa. It doesn't mean Saiser, the whole Nazirus start again. Right? It just means that his Karbanas don't work. So he has to do that again. Right? Now, the only thing is if he did take a haircut, L'chaira, and then he became Tomei, then he's going to have to wait 30 days. That's what I would think, because you need to have 30 days of growth. The assumption is here that he didn't take a haircut.
What's the machlokes?
What's the machlokes then? whether he has to bring the first carbon, right? Whether he has to re-bring the first carbon. You're right, Parrot, 100%. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. Comes out that the only difference between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chama, I think, is whether he has to bring that first carbon whose blood was already sprinkled. According to the Chama, he doesn't. That was a kosher carbon. He didn't become tummy till after the blood was sprinkled. That's a perfectly kosher carbon. According to Rabbi Eliezer, you got to bring all three. But again, according to both, you only have to wait one week. Yeah, that's a good point. So the Gemara says, "Havanam mistaver." The Tani v'chomer tavi shar karban noiseh, but the tar. Chacham say she brings her other karbanos and becomes tar shmamina. U'maisanami Miriam hatarmudis shenizar kala echem and adamin. Ubo v'edu al bito shahaisim sekenes v'halchu matzah shemesa. Right, they told her that the daughter is Mesukah, and she went and she found that she was, and they found that she was dead. Bring the other karbanos and tar shmamina. Now again, don't think this is going on with the next parrot, right? Don't think that the mother is allowed to become tummy to the daughter. She's not. A Nazir cannot become tummy to anybody other than a Meis Mitzvah. Now it's interesting, like whenever shilas happen that are similar to the daf, so a travel agent in Eretz Yisrael, or I don't know who the travel agent on Friday, asked me that they have a person who's like coming from just landed in Eretz Yisrael, and then her father had a cardiac arrest and was in bad shape back in New York. So the lady said, I'm flying back to New York, Friday night flight from Tel Aviv. She just landed on Friday. She says, I'm going back. She wants the travel agent to do the tickets for her. The travel agent wants to know, like this case, the mother was told that the daughter's in bad shape. And the mother went there. She became tummy Nazir. So obviously this is not a Nazir case, I don't think. But the lady said she's flying back to New York. Can the travel agent book the tickets for her, or should she tell her you just have to go straight to the airline? Because she doesn't want to be involved with Neiva.
Does the patient want her?
I don't know. She's going either way.
Well, how do we know it was without asking a shayla? Maybe she asked her Rav, and the Rav told her she should fly back.
Because she's not really that. She's not right. So that was one side. I said it's okay because it could be a stark side that it's mutter because it's all the rabbanans for the most part. Even the tchum part, she's over 10 tefachim from the ground, from the beginning to the end. Right?
What do you mean? The guys must probably were flying a Yidden.
No, I don't care. The Elal doesn't fly.
I don't know.
I'm assuming they're not flying. I'm assuming that she didn't take Elal.
Right. I hear. Not today, no, maybe not.
Right. So I'm saying, what are you talking about? Tchum. So there's a sheet that holds Tchum is the Rabbanon. She's being over on the Rabbanans because she has to go to her father. So listen, whether it's mutter or not for her to go, ich weiß nicht. But to say that a travel agent can't arrange the ticket up to even that already was too much. That's what I thought. But I don't know. It was one of those.
I think it's kind of interesting. Can we get back to the Gemara for a minute? But the Gemara, the Rabbanan said that the daughter was sick. Maybe the Rabbanan knew that the daughter was dead, and they said to her, "Your daughter's sick. You should finish your kabbalah." It's essentially saying, "Finish your kabbalas, finish lemaisa." And then telling her that way in order that she should be finished with her naziris totally. Instead, she went ahead and she was a uber chacham, and she went to check on her daughter, and the daughter was Mesa, and so she lost.
Rabbana didn't tell her anything.
They just told her
she received a message. The Rabbana didn't tell her anything.
They didn't say her daughter was sick.
No, that wasn't the Rabbana. Someone sent a message.
Didn't hear that. I didn't hear it. And I didn't hear what he said.
Well, who said?
Maybe parrots.
Parrots wants a l'chaim. He wants to say the words Hadron Allah Shloisha Minin.
Oh, we finished reading it? I'm sorry. I didn't say it. I'm sorry. Hadron Allah Shloisha Minin. L'chaim. I'm in a laundry room off a bathroom, so I don't have any drinks.
I was wondering why the paint's peeling on the ceiling.
Yes, this is my little office here. Freezing cold. It's not freezing cold. It's just actually, I'm not complaining, but yeah.
Turn on the dryer and keep the thing inside and have it.
Not my apartment. I'm not starting up with it. I'm not starting up with it. Anyways, okay. Fine. So Dr. New Parak, yeah. Kohen Gadol on the same subject. Kohen Gadol and Nazir ain't matam l'krevein. A Kohen Gadol and a Nazir cannot become tamei to the relatives. We know that a regular Kohen, right, becomes tamei to the 7 relatives. A regular Kohen becomes tamei to the 7 relatives, right? If Nebuch a Kohen loses a close relative, so any of the 7 relatives he becomes tamei to. But a Kohen Gadol does not, and a Nazir does not, right? They would just have to attend the Levaya from far away. Yeah. Avol mitamen l'meis mitzvah.
You can zoom it.
You can zoom it 100%, 100%, right? But zoom it's itself tummy. So okay, whatever.
Oh, you're saying good.
Yeah. Right. Avol mitamen l'meis mitzvah. For a meis mitzvah, though, they're allowed to. Yeah. Now, so then we have interesting then. So let's say the Nazir and the Kohen Gadol are traveling together, right? And they find the Meis Mitzvah. Who should become Tamei? Meaning, who's the bigger priority? It's like a lumdish question.
I mean,
right?
why is the Meis Mitzvah allowed? What's the hat there?
Because the Meis Mitzvah.
And lumdus, what's the lumdus of it?
What do you mean? The lumdus?
Yeah.
Because the mitzvah of burying the dead is a priority over everything else. They're gonna still become tamei. They're gonna have to start the whole Nazirus again. That's not. They don't get a free pass. They just have to become tamei. I think, right? But they don't get a free pass.
I would think right away that the Cohen should be Mitame. He doesn't have the problem of the Nazir that the Nazir has.
Well, we're going to see. So
they both have a problem being Mitame Mason, but the Nazir has an additional problem is that once they're Mitame, they have to start all over again after they're Tahar. And by the Kohen, he just has to be Mitar and can go back to his job.
Right. So we're going to see.
Well, isn't it Kohen Gadol just a Leisase and the Nazir is a Leisase?
Yeah. So okay, the Gemara doesn't give that option. Let's see the Mishnah. Let's see how the Mishnah goes. Right. So they're traveling, they find the Meis Mitzvah. Right? Now, obviously, we're talking about a case where they both can't. I mean, if you need both to carry the mace, then obviously they both become. You don't make one guy. I mean, I don't know. It's a good question, Taka. Let's say they drag the mace. One could drag the mace, but it's a real pain. The other one could actually help him pick it up.
What about their 10 and 11?
Huh?
You need a minion. They're 10 and 11. You need a minion for the mace mitzvah.
You could be part of the minion. You don't have to become tummy to the mace. You could be at the minion.
Yaakov dragging it would be mabaz the body.
That's what I don't know. I don't know Dine Mace Mitzvah. So I don't know if is that considered a bizayon that you would use both, or
that's the Mishnah of Chizkiyo, no? Doesn't the Mishnah say by Chizkiyo? That's one of the 3 things.
Well, Chizkiyo they dragged. That was one of the things. Yeah, they were mavazim, but
yeah,
I don't know if that's.
Guys, are you doing it al bizayon, or are you doing it al? You got to bury the guy. What are you going to do? There's
it is a bizayon.
No, you can't hit me.
You see, it says it's a bizayon.
Why do you say we have to be talking about a Kohen Gadol? It could be Kohen Hedyot. It's the same.
No.
Compared, we only mentioned Kohen Gadol before because of the Karoivav, but because he's not Matam the Karoivav, but Kohen Hedyot, he also has to be Matam the Mason with Mace Mitzvah.
Correct, but that's how we're going to learn out from the Kal V'chomer. We'll see in the Gemara. Okay, whatever it is, we're obviously talking about where one is enough, right? So you don't need both. So Rabbi Eliezer, I'm Yitma Kohen Gadol, Val Yitma Nazir. The Kohen Gadol should become Tamei, not the Nazir. The Chachamim Oimrim Yitma Nazir, Val Yitma Kohen Hedyot. But that's but that's not the Girsa, right? You see the Gimel, right? You should become. He should become. Again, the Chachamim is saying Yitma Nazir, Val Yitma Kohen Hedyot, and the Kohen Hedyot should not. Right, so Amar meaning, but it means where is it? Why am I not finding it? What is it? Yeah, so you see the Masaras Hashas. So these new Gemaras that they don't have the asterisk drive me batty. So many different letters and different. See, the Masaras Hashas changes it to Gadol, right? I think it's pretty posh. So, anyways, so it's a machlokes. Some of them, Rabbi Eliezer says Yitma Kohen Sheina may be carbon on to Masay. A Kohen should become Tommy because he doesn't have to bring a carbon, like Rachamim had said. He just goes right back. He becomes Torah and he goes back to his regular Kohen. Bal Yitam and Nazir should maybe carbon al to Masay. A Nazir has to bring a carbon, right? Yeah, it's interesting. Why? Because you bring a carbon. I guess we don't want to just make people bring carbonas, or if you have to bring a carbon, it makes it more kosher. Right? So Amrulai, they told them back, Yitma Nazir, Shein Kedushas Kedushas Olam. A Nazir is not a Kedushas Olam. Right? He's in the Nazir for 30 days. Oh, but there's such a thing as a Nazir forever. Right?
Nazir forever is the self-imposed.
Right? Well, Tyson said a little different than you. Even if it's self-imposed, so what? But he's a Nazir forever.
He can get out of it.
That's between him and his choosing.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, what is Tysus?
What?
What does Tysus say?
Tysus says no. That Stam Nazirus is 30 days.
So what?
So
That's a guy.
No, I think he means. I think what Tysus means is Tysus in the second wide line. It says Afilu Amar Nazir Olam Yikamak and Stam Nazirus Hayishloshim Yad. So therefore, the whole mahus, the whole concept of Nazir, even if the guy becomes a Nazir Shloshim Yad, even if he becomes a Nazir Olam, but the concept of Nazir is not a forever thing. So therefore, it has less kedusha, right? That is kedusha. Okay, so basically, again, we have another machlokes. Seems like everything is a machlokes of Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim. Another machlokes here, right? Rabbi Eliezer holds that the Kohen Gadol should become Tomei first, and then because the Nazir is more chashuv, and the Chacham say the opposite. So when I ask,
this Mishnah is a shtickle mashma, like the Nazir Stefanski spoke. Means
what?
It's mashma shtickle like that Nazir that he interviewed. While the guy's a Nazir and he's walking with the Kohen Gadol, their kedusha is the same. They have equal kedusha. Just the Nazir's kedusha goes away before the Kohen Gadol.
Can you give me like 10
Right.
minutes?
I don't know. I don't know. Certainly on the second blot of the night, I don't know. That's for sure. Anyways, so Bishlam Kohen Gadol of Nazir, right? We understand the Kohen Gadol and Nazir. High Sover Kohen Gadol Adif. High Sover Nazir Adif. Each one holds that the Kohen Gadol is better, and the other one holds that the Nazir is better. But what about Mashur B'Shem and Mishcha? Let's say there was a couple of ways that you had Kohanim became a Kohen Gadol. How were they appointed? Right. So the main way to do it was that he put on the Shemaim Begadim and they poured oil on his head. Right. The Shemin HaMishcha, they poured it on his head. And then from Yoshia, after that they hid the Shemin HaMishcha. Right. So he didn't want, because Yoshia, he didn't want the oil getting into the wrong hands once there was Golus. So therefore he, he hid it. So after that, they no longer had the oil to put on the Kohen Gadol's head. So the way it was is he put on the Shemaim Begadim, and that was that. Right? So what about a Kohen who was anointed with the oil, which is a more chashuv thing, on Talmud Beis now, Umeruba Begadim, and a Kohen who was only anointed with Meruba Begadim. Now, historically, you have to figure out when this happened. Right? How can you have two Kohanim, one that was anointed with the oil and the Shemaim Begadim, and the other one just Shemaim Begadim, and they're both walking, and there's a mace mitzvah, right? So historically, that had to have happened in a very limited time. Yeah. So Mashur Shemin HaMishcha Adif. So we're saying the Mashur Shemin HaMishcha is better, meaning
he should not. When it means better, when the Gemara here now on the base here is going to mean better, it means better, and therefore the other guy should become tummy. Right? Maybe parabol kala mitzvahs. The Mashuach and Shevan Mishcha brings a par that comes on all mitzvahs, meaning a kohen who makes a mistake in a psak, right? Which Grada has to do with the Shiloh that I was saying before. That's also together. But a kohen gadol makes a mistake in a psak. So if he's a kohen gadol that had the oil anointed on him, therefore he has to bring a special par, right? Meaning normally somebody brings a chatas, a sheep or a ram, whatever it is, right? But a kohen gadol brings a par. But a kohen gadol who only became a kohen gadol with putting on the shemona v'gadim, and he never had it anointed with the oil, he does not bring the special par. Maybe he doesn't bring it. So you see that the kohen gadol who was properly anointed with the oil and the shemona v'gadim is more chashuv. Right? Mashuach she'ava. Let's say you have a kohen gadol. So the way what happened was you have a kohen gadol, and they retired to kohanim gedolim. Either became tamei.
Jacob, after I mean, we went in order after learning Yuma. What's the chiddush here?
What do you mean?
I thought that the kohen gadol is more chashuv.
No, it's two kohen gadols. They're both kohen gadols here. One is the kohen gadol who was anointed properly in the old way, like with the oil and the shemona v'gadim.
Right.
And this one not. This one, the other second guy he didn't have the oil. So he only with the shemona. So which
the din of kohen gadol for everything else?
Yeah,
no?
they both have right, but the problem, they're both walking and there's a mace mitzvah. Who's the one that should go first? That's what we're saying. So we're saying the guy that didn't have the oil is less chashuv, so he should become tamei first. Right?
I don't understand. You have two kahanim gedolim.
Right.
When do you have that?
Oh, so and as you also you have to have it in the
the backup kohen.
That's
Correct.
a sgan. That's not two kahanim.
No,
gedolim.
that's not a
You're
scan.
gonna have a coin as Meshuach Meshem and Mishchal Milchoma. The coin gadol goes out.
That's
That
the
we're gonna
Gemara
get to.
fight. That's the Gemara fight.
That we'll get to.
When do you have two kahanim gedolim?
Oh, so you
You
got to
have
look
the
at
guy
the
got
rush.
sick, and then he came back, and then the guy subbed for him, and then he came back.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, he went on a sabbatical for a year.
So the Kohen Gadol got sick.
Oh,
The
we had this in
replacement
you.
Right.
came
That's
back,
the
filled
rush.
in for
The
him.
rush. The rush says the case. The rush. I hope I say it correctly now. Right after they had a kohen gadol who was anointed with the oil, then they hid the oil. Then the kohen gadol, for whatever reason, couldn't be the kohen gadol. Right. So they promoted this kohen gadol, but obviously without the oil because they already hid the oil. Right.
What do you mean come be?
They hid the oil. So that's it. They couldn't appoint him as the kohen gadol now in the old way with the oil because the oil was hidden. Right. So now we have two kohen gadol. We have a kohen gadol who did the oil, that was anointed with the oil, givaldic, but he's not well or he's tamei, whatever it is. Then they appointed the second kohen gadol. Right. Now the guy gets better.
Jacob, but you're saying he maintains his kohen gadol status. It says over there, he maintains his
Correct.
status. If he's only the kohen gadol for an extended period of time, filling in. I mean, the guy was out for 6 months. Then he maintains the status, and that's why there's a case of two kohen gadol.
He's a
just
Kohen
froze.
Gadol emeritus.
Basically,
Correct.
right? No, so the thing.
Yeah.
No, so the thing normally is. The
Now
din normally
imagine
is-
if he became a Nazir.
Yeah, so the din normally is this Mitaka had in Yuma, which I don't remember clear. But once the guy takes over, meaning if a Kohen Gadol comes and temporarily takes over, and then the original Kohen Gadol comes back, then he's out. The second Kohen Gadol is out.
Correct, but if he stays there for extended period of time because the guy's out for treatments or whatever it is,
No,
Cool.
but then because you also have to do it on. You have to find a practical case where they're both walking together now, and they're both Kohen Gadol. Meaning once the guy gets demoted, so he's no longer Kohen Gadol. I mean, you have to have a case where they're both active.
I'm saying
duty.
so. He took over for a year, and then the guy got better, and he still maintains his his
Right,
status.
exactly.
After that.
That's
Right.
that's what you have to say. That's
So
what
let
you
me
have to say.
let
The
me ask
cases.
you, who does the avoid in Kippur?
I guess whoever is better.
Levi versteht sich, it was like Klai Yisrael. They had a big machlokes.
Whoever's faster.
Why don't you say that one Cohen Gadol was Tommy Mace? He was already Tommy Mace, but you're still not allowed to be Matame again. So say one Cohen Gadol was Tommy Mace, and the other Cohen Gadol was Tar.
Yeah, but then we would tell you for sure you're already tumming.
No, but it's still an Isser to be Matame.
Not an
They were
Isser
trying to
to
figure out
mix
who
up.
has less of a tumor or who doesn't. So the guy who's tumming, his stomach should do it.
Well, that's a good answer, but it could be that's the case too.
The Kohen Gadol allowed to be a Nazir?
No, there wouldn't be a Havamina in that case.
What have we lost? So Yaakov.
No, I keep freezing. I don't know. I'm freezing. I'm good now.
Oh, you turn on the heater.
That's not the type of freezing. Yeah, I keep missing. Sometimes it blocks out. But anyways, yeah, it's got to be a case where they're both active duty. That's what you have to say. That's the only way that's the only way to do it. You can't say that one is. I don't think once one is tummy, then for sure he should go first. No, I think that's what somebody said. No. Yeah, one is tummy. Yeah.
What's what Peretz wanted to say. I don't necessarily have to agree, but
of course not. But fine. Okay, so that's that scenario. Next scenario, Mashur Sha'avar. This one also you have a hard time figuring out. Mashur Sha'avar. He's the Kohen Gadol that became anointed, and then he was what he's out. Sha'avar, meaning he was removed. Umerubim begadim, and then you have a Kohen Gadol who became just a Kohen Gadol without the anointing. Merubim begadim adif. The one who was Merubim begadim is better, even though the other Kohen was anointed.
This is the emeritus. This case is emeritus.
Well, the Merubim begadim. Let's see. The Merubim begadim avid avoda. Because the Merubah B'Adam is David Avodah, the Ilu Mashuach Sha'avar Lav Bar Avodah. He's not a Bar Avodah. So yeah, so I don't know. Does it mean Avar temporarily or permanently? Right.
I thought maybe meant Avar. Avar. I thought passed away meant Avar. Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's very hard for him to do Mace Mitzvah though.
Right.
He's the mace.
Yeah.
Bury yourself.
No, but you still have, meaning how are you getting them both to be, meaning a Kohen Gadol stays forever, right? So what do you mean Sha'avar? Right? What's the case of Sha'avar?
He got a different soul. He can't do the avodah anymore, but he's still Kohen Gadol.
It was like a forced retirement, no?
So again, you have the Rosh has a whole complicated thing here. What goes on, right? The Kohen Gadol was removed temporarily. Then they brought up another Kohen Gadol. Then they hid the oil, and the first Kohen Gadol died. Right. So then they appointed a new Kohen Gadol with Merubah Begadim, just putting him on the Begadim. Right, which I don't understand exactly how that works, because why should they put a new Kohen Gadol? They have the substitute Kohen Gadol should take over, no? Okay, but that's what you have to say. That's the way the Rush says the case. Okay, whatever it is. So Mashur Shabbat La Baravaidu, because he's not the active Kohen Gadol. So since he's not a Baravaidu, he's the one that should become Tameh. Fine. Next, Avar Machmas Kiruya. Let's say he was Ivar because he was Machmas Keri, right? He had relations, so therefore he's out for the day. Va'avar Machmas Mumay, and then you have another guy who's not the Kohen Gadol because he has a mum. So Avar Machmas Kiruya, Adif, who should be the one becoming Tameh? The one who was Keri. Why? Because the Kohen Gadol gets right back in the next day. Once he goes to the mikveh, he becomes mutter. And if the one that was over machmas mumay, he's not chazi at all. Right? Fine. Then we want to ask you by Luke, have a shiloh. Mashuach milchama uskan. Oh, so now we get into a different thing. You have the Mashuach milchama. Now, Mashuach milchama is a kohen that is he's sort of like the chaplain, I guess. Is that the right word for this? He's the chaplain. He goes along with, I don't know if he goes to the war, but he inspires the soldiers, etc., etc. Right? But the way they did it was they poured oil on him too. Yeah, so that's a chashuv thing. Right? Meaning he's not a kohen gadol. He's a kohen, but he's a chashuv a kohen. That's what it's considered. He's considered like somewhere in between a regular kohen and a kohen gadol. He's somewhere in the middle.
He's enough of a kohen gadol to be mata the Retzeach from a Golis. So
is
that,
he? Yeah.
Yeah. That's
He's a motivator.
That's interesting. I guess. No, so then but he obviously he can't become tummy to his relatives. Then that way he's like a kohen gadol. Right. So, anyways, so what about him and the skan? So what's the skan? The skan is for Yom Kippur. Right. That's the one like Aaron, you were saying, he's the guy that they appoint in case the kohen, he's the skan, he's not the kohen gadol right now, right? And then they become across the tamim mace mitzvah, some shuv mechama other, the chazil mechama. So mashuach mechama is better because he's ready to do war. Meaning, what does that mean? So. Or the skan is better because the ma'aser, the skan could do the avodah. Meaning the skan at least is a kohen gadol. The first guy's not a kohen gadol. He's the chaplain and he's chashuv, but he's not a kohen gadol, right? So those are the two sort of the shilas, right?
Rashi says he can't do avodah. He can't do the avodah.
Right.
I don't think he's a kohen gadol, but he's just not shy to do the avodah of some.
So I don't know if that's considered kohen gadol or not. But Tosfos is interesting. Tosfos says, well, what's a pshat? Because since he's going out to war, so he must be a chashuv. I think that's what he means. That the rabbim is tali on him. So since the public is tali on him, that's a chashuv thing, right? Okay, so those are the two stadim. So Tashema, the Tanya, Ein Ben Meshur Muhammad Askan. There's no difference between a Meshur Muhammad and a Skan. Elashim Hayu Mahalchem B'derech Umatzum Meis Mitzvah. That if they're walking and they find the Meis Mitzvah, Yitma Meshur Muhammad, the Meshur Muhammad should become Tamei, but Al Yitma Askan, and the Skan should not become Tamei. So you see that the Brisa says Beferish that the Meshur Muhammad should become Tamei and not the Skan Kohen.
Well, just because the rabbin needs him. I mean, if the rabbin needs the water carry, he takes Kedim over a skan kohen gadol. I mean,
I don't know how far you take it, but I think you still have to have the same. You have to have at least be in the same ballpark of chashivas. They're both kohen gadols or chashuv kohanim or whatever it is.
He doesn't do that. Mashiach Muhammad doesn't do avodah.
No, he can't do avodah.
So what is he? He's not even in the same pastures.
He is, because he has a lot of chumras of the kohen gadol. He can't become tamei. He's got to cut his hair. He's got a lot of the chumras of kohen gadol, but he's not a kohen gadol. The skan is not active kohen gadol at all, right? So that those are the studim. Yeah. So anyways, so the Gemara, so the Brisa seems to say beferish that the Meshur Muhammad should be the one to become tamei. The Brisa says the Meshur Muhammad comes before the skan. So we have a stira. So Razutra Linyan Hachyaisai Meshur Muhammad to make them live, meaning if they're both dying, who do you save first? So the Meshur Muhammad is the better one. Right? My timer, the Tolabei Rabbim. What's the reason? Because the Rabbim needs him. So Mamela, since the Rabbim needs him, he goes first. He's like, which is interesting because the way Rashi says it, or the Mefayer says it, the Ovid Muhammad Bishvil Rabbim, he's working for the public. So since he's working for the public, we need to save him first. Right? I don't know if that means for the Rabbim because it's Sakonis Nefashis, and I don't know if that means the water carrier goes first too. I don't know. L'chayr not, but again, he's saying that because of the Rabbim. In Tumah though, but according for Tumah, Skan Odif, the Skan is better. The Tanya Reb Chanina ben Antigonus Aimer, Lama Tiknu Skan l'Kohen Gadol.
Why did they make a sagan for Kohen Gadol Shem Ira by psul? Harei nichnas mishamash tachta. Because if there's a psul, then he's going to be able to have a Kohen Gadol right under him on Yom Kippur. Right? So, meaning what? Because what happens if? Meaning, what should be the problem? The Kohen Gadol is in the Beis Hamikdash. But let's say, whatever, on the way to the Beis Hamikdash, the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur comes across a mace mitzvah. So you need to have an assistant there for him, right? Yeah, the shaila is, should we stop here? It's a new sugya. Okay, I guess we'll stop. We'll stop here. Again, so basically we got through the sugyas here of so far that when Nazir and a Kohen Gadol don't become tamei to their relatives, but they do become tamei for a mace mitzvah. And then we went through this achraynisha lamdisha shaila of the who's best to become tamei. Now the Gemara for the next blot and a half is going to go through how do we taka know? Where do we know that a Nazir and a Zev? You asked this. I mean, how do you know that a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol can become tamei to a mace mitzvah? We don't have a source for that yet. Right, so we're going to go through it, all sorts of kavachimers back and forth. It's not hard, but whatever. That's going to be tomorrow's daf, Be'ez Hashem. So tomorrow's daf will be the erech your time 5:45 in that area.
When they come back,
That's what I'm saying. That'll be before I get on the plane. Hopefully.
What was the shaila that you had? If you want to.
Oh, talking about making a mistake. So what happened? And I set my phone because it was
Yeah.
Friday.
All right, start off the recording.
Yeah, so Friday, and I don't know if you're after that, but a Friday, so I tried to set my phone that people that ask me shilas, I say I'm in Eretz Yisrael, that they should know that I'm not around. So, but the problem for whatever reason didn't work. So people texting shilas all Friday didn't get answers. So a guy texted me. So I'm answering the Shabbos. I don't know if they got through to a lot of time on Friday afternoon, an hour before Shabbos. So I don't know if they got answers. So like this, I text them right after Shabbos by me. Like this, they'll have their answer right when Shabbos. I don't know if I'll be available. Maybe officially I'm sleeping. I wasn't, but yeah. So a lady saw dam in the way the Shiloh was. She saw blood in the bathtub. Okay, so I said you're fine. Right, a little bit of blood in the bath was stain. Okay, whatever the lumdus, why it's mutter, not mutter, but it's mutter. The guy texted me, "What should I do? You didn't get through to. I didn't get through to you." And I asked Rabbi Force, and he said neither. I was like, "Oh, great. All right, wonderful." So I was like, "Can you tell me the shaila exactly?" So it wasn't shot. So he explains it. No, she saw the blood coming out of her body when she. That's a whole different animal. I said, you realize you left that part out from the shiloh to me, right? So now I'm whatever. So now the truth be told,
because he wasn't going to go back and tell Force that you mocked her.
Correct. So the truth be told is that there are tzadim to be mekel. I would question a lot of things here, but once Rabbi Force said it's out, I'm not going to go digging for right. But anyway, so that was we were talking about making a toys in a psak, right? The Kohen Gadol makes a toys. I'm no Kohen Gadol. I'm a Gadol. I'm not a Kohen Gadol. I'm getting Gadol with the shawarma I'm eating in the Berekas. I'm getting Gadol more Gadol.
You did turn off the recording, right?
But anyways, so I'm just saying, make a toys in a psak. Is that called a toys in a psak?
No, you didn't get the details.
Yeah, so some people are going to say, you see, that's what's wrong with text, because I'm sure he didn't text Rabbi Force. I'm sure he spoke to him. Right, but on the other hand, you say, what do you mean? You can, if he would have said it the same way to Rabbi Forrest, he would have said, right? Well, okay, whatever. So I don't know.
It wasn't a mistake in the psak. It was a mistake in the shiloh.
In the shiloh, right? That's what Zev's saying. Now, then another thing, my niece here in